When God made a way, the night was heavy with fear. Behind them, the thunder of Pharaoh's chariots shook the desert floor. In front of them stretched an endless wall of water, the mighty Red Sea, impossible to cross. The Israelites, weary and terrified, turned to Moses. "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us here to die in the wilderness?" they cried. The sound of approaching hooves grew louder. Pharaoh's army was closing in fast. But Moses stood firm, his eyes fixed on the heavens. With calm authority, he lifted his voice above the panic. "Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. The Egyptians whom you see today, you will see no more forever." As darkness fell, the pillar of cloud that guided them by day moved behind them, forming a divine barrier between Israel and Pharaoh's army. The cloud brought light to God's people and darkness to their enemies. Then God spoke to Moses, "Lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea." Moses obeyed. He stretched out his hand, and suddenly a mighty east wind began to blow. The sea roared and trembled as the waters split apart. Walls of water rose high on both sides, shimmering under the moonlight, and the seabed turned dry before their eyes. A path, wide enough for a nation, appeared in the heart of the sea. With awe and trembling, the Israelites began to move forward. Mothers held their children close. Old men leaned on their staffs, and families walked between towering walls of water. A miracle on both sides. The wind howled, yet not a drop touched them. Behind them, Pharaoh saw the impossible and ordered his chariots to follow. The Egyptians charged into seabed, their wheels slicing through mud, their war cries echoing against the watery walls. Then, in the darkest hour before dawn, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud upon the Egyptian army, and confusion broke out among them. Chariot wheels jammed and cracked. Soldiers shouted in panic, "Let's flee from the Israelites. The Lord fights for them." As the last Israelite stepped safely onto the other shore, Moses once again lifted his staff. The wind ceased, the walls of water collapsed, and the sea roared back with fury, swallowing Pharaoh's army in a single moment. Chariots, soldiers, and horses vanished beneath the waves. Silence followed. Then, as the sun rose over the eastern horizon, the Israelites stood in awe on the far shore, watching the sea wash away their fears and their past. They were free. Then Miriam, Moses' sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women danced and sang. "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." From this story, the simple lessons we should imbibe in our spirit are that 1. God can make a way where there seems to be no way. 2. Faith in God conquers fear and doubt. 3. Obedience to God's instructions brings miracles. 4. God fights battles we cannot fight ourselves. 5. Every deliverance has a divine purpose. 6. Gratitude and praise should follow every victory. There is no reason why we should not wholeheartedly put our trust in the Most High, who has shown us so much love by giving his only begotten Son, Jesus, to die for us on the cross of Calvary. If you have not made peace with him, do not delay any further. Do it now.